And I am back here in the fandom basement. It is I, General Zod, and today is a glorious day because tonight, leading into tomorrow, the return of one of my favorite shows on Netflix, Altered Carbon. 2 years, Zod has waited for this magnanimous show to return. And finally, the time approaches us. But first, this is going to be a review on the first Altered Carbon, and then I am going to go into some little tidbits I got about the new season. And folks, it is glorious. Zod has been perusing, his raccoons have been gathering info, and I am here to bring you the newest updates on Altered Carbon, which I will be reviewing tomorrow. I am going to binge the show and tell you guys what I think. But first, let me start out with Altered Carbon Season 1, the overview. Altered Carbon is about a cyberpunk kind of universe where a person is brought back to life. His name is Kovacs. Kovacs is a envoy, which is a special kind of group of fighters that fought against the modern technology and the modern world, and they all lost terribly. They lost terribly. But anyways, he gets brought back, and he is Japanese, but he's brought back in a white guy's body, because in this world of Altered Carbon, you can come back multiple times through technology called sleeves. Sleeves are used essentially for man to cheat or beat death. If you have the money, you can essentially live forever. If you're a normal person and you die in some kind of mishap or something like that, then you can have a free body. But the government chooses, and you don't necessarily get to pick what body you get to inhabit. Along the way, Kovacs is brought back to investigate the murder of the Baron Bancroft, who is the main storyline. And through the investigations, you find out backstory about Kovacs, and you find out about this person he fell in love with, which her name was Q, and how he had a war with the current regime, and the current regime won. And we find stuff out along the way. Now, my pros of this series, pretty much everything. Visually, this thing is a modern-day Blade Runner. The visuals are stunning. The fight choreograph is amazing and imaginative. This show, when it first came out 2 years ago, simply floored me. And I rewatched the show, and rewatching it, it is aesthetically probably the best show on television, hands down. Star Trek Picard, I kid you not, ripped off a scene from this show. That Vegas city, I swear, the model from that is the model from the first episode of Bay City, where this takes place. So, here's my pros and my cons. My pros of this is, as I said, the aesthetics, the acting, the dialogue, it's all great. Now, I have a very few cons. In the beginning, this is sort of a mystery of who killed Bancroft. Bancroft is essentially this rich, immortal person, and when you get to the end of the storyline, I felt like it was very generic. Like, they fill in Kovacs' backstory, and it's so rich that it almost takes place from the main focus, which was supposed to be this mystery. And don't get me wrong, the murder of this guy ties in to Kovacs' story. It's just, I wish the transition was a little bit smoother. This is based on a cyberpunk book series called Altered Carbon. And one thing about this show is it follows the books very faithfully. I've read the first 2 books to get ready for the series. They are amazing cyberpunk thrillers, and the show really captures the essence of the book. But there's just some points where the story seems a little unfocused. There's a lot of violence, um, a lot of sex, dealing with prostitution, the rich versus the poor, whether man should have the ability to live forever, the meaning of life. There's a lot of deep meanings, and I feel like they explore some things, but they don't dive into others. I mean, they go over classism a little bit, they touch into the ability of not dying, the government, and things like that, but it focuses on a lot of things and sometimes loses its focus on what the main point of it is, because it's trying to interweave all of these themes. But don't get me wrong, the writers and the directors of this show are great. A couple of my favorite characters is Bancroft. The guy who plays Bancroft is a very good actor. He's been in shows like The Following and other movies. He's very good. The person who plays the Japanese version of Kovacs is very good. All in all, most of the actors do a good job. Chris Corner plays Edgar Allan Poe, which is an AI, and that storyline was interesting because it was about an AI who wanted to be human, and it opened up a question of the difference between humans and machines and what they're lacking and metaphysical aspects and how even a machine could be more humane than humans could be. It's a very deep show, very rich, compelling tale, and I loved it. So overall, what I think, if you've not seen Altered Carbon, it's been out for 2 years. What have you been doing on Netflix? Watch this show immediately. This show, I give a 9 out of 10. I loved it. I loved the special effects. I loved the score. I loved the cinematography. I love the fight choreograph. I love the brutality. I love the messaging. There is not one aspect, except for the shaky storytelling, where it kind of detours and it kind of loses its focus at points. But overall, solid show. So let's get into Season 2. Season 2, the role will be played by, I'm looking down on my sheet here, took some notes. The role is going to be played by Anthony Mackie, will reprise the role of Takeshi Kovacs. And Anthony Mackie has invested, he's read the books. I am really excited to see what take he has on this character. A couple of other announcements. Michael Shanks will be in, I just found this out. If you don't know who Michael Shanks is, he plays in Stargate SG-1. He's going to be playing some sort of villain character. I'm really looking forward to it. He was on Burn Notice. He also played a villain / good guy, and he did a really good job. So I'm curious to see what his role is and how he's going to fit into the story. Also, we'll find out more about Q. There was a storyline there. She's the one who trained Takeshi. This story's going to center a lot around Takeshi finding her and them building their relationship after Takeshi thought she was dead in the first season. And they're going to be exploring some things with the AI Poe. Now, last season when we left him, we assumed he died. Apparently, he went to some kind of AI limbo, or the girl who was the AI in the first season trapped him so he didn't actually die. His network lived. So it's going to be interesting to see what's happened with that character and how they got back. Also, they've changed some things. Anthony Mackie's character is now an upgraded version of what Takeshi was in the first one. In the first one, he was a detective. This time, he's a military soldier. He's got a special set of sleeves that allow him to pull these magnetic guns towards him and heightened military training and whatnot. So it's going to be really cool to see a character that's not a detective but is like militaristic, military trained. From what I heard, this follows book 2 very closely. Each of these books are kind of anthologies, so they follow some of the same storylines, but they differ. This one is finishing Takeshi's storyline, so I'm really curious to see. This is going to have 8 episodes. They all premiere tonight at midnight. So, overall, I'm super excited. You guys in the comments below, let me know. How do you feel about this? Are you excited about its return? Did you not know because it's been 2 years? Did you like the first season? Did you not like the first season? In the comments below, let me know. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. And as always, remember the only rule here in the fandom zone: kneel before General Zod.